Hey everyone, Midnight here, and today I'm going to be discussing the power optimization for FusionFall Retro before the patch releases, so you can speed through levels as quickly as you want and just make the game overall easier for yourself. And so right now, I'm going to go to the Nano Station. As you can see, I have right now my party Buttercup, Numbuh, and Eddy. These are going to be your primary three Nanos throughout pretty much the entire early game, because getting as much fusion matter as possible from completing missions with Scavenge, you're able to get from place quicker with Numbuh, and you're able to heal yourself when you get low with Eddy. Now, you do have Eduardo, which I currently have Drain, just because it's damage. So this is pretty much going to be your team. It can pretty much just work throughout the game, but once you get vehicles, run isn't going to be as viable. So by that point, I would recommend swapping out Numbuh for maybe either a rocket like Dexter later on, or you could go for Billy. It just depends on what you want. You also get your first Nano, you get your first vehicles level 10, so you can either opt to instead use Eduardo, or potentially you could use Billy again, or Magus, I guess, if you want to. That's also if you plan on using, all three types in your team. Because there are also other very good Nanos that you do get before then, like Numbuh 5, which can also fill up your second slot if you want. But keep in mind that you're not going to have boosts against every mob, so keep that in mind if you care about that. But Numbuh 5 does have Leech, which I do recommend picking up, because it's probably her best power. Yeah, if you want, if you don't have Scavenge yet on Buttercup, essentially what you want to do is talk to this power shopkeeper, or any power shopkeeper in any area.
Hello, and how are you doing today?
And just scroll down. And there you go, Scavenge power item. You're going to want 5 of these, 1,000 Taros each, which isn't a lot. And if you want good places to get money, then just the enemies around Genius Grove are usually your best bet.
Maybe nice weather we are having.
So they sell all power items. So if you ever need to change your power, these are the places you want to go. And remember, don't use your mouse wheel, because it takes you both down, so it'll maybe get off the impression that there's a lot less powers, or all these power items that you can get right now. So just use the in-game slider, and you can actually find what you're looking for a lot easier. And
Goodbye, human.
I see a lot of people on Numbuh pick bonus lunch money and not fast feet. I don't really understand the reasoning for this, because money is too easy to come by anyway, so bonus, you're just getting a little extra, so it doesn't really matter. Its fusion matter variant Scavenge is a lot more useful, because especially later on in the game, there aren't as many missions to get fusion matter, so having the ability to get as much as possible to level up is a lot more useful. There's a little extra money, because the only thing you're spending your money on anyway are nano potions and vehicles, so it's not as useful to have as much of. Maybe if you're running a shop or buying items for the players, then maybe a little extra money wouldn't hurt. But right now, it's really not that useful. Plus, you have 2 other Nanos that do get bonus, Numbuh 1 and Aku. In which case, you'd probably get bonus on Aku just because his other abilities aren't the best. But at the same time, because of how late he is in the game, maybe you wouldn't want it at that point, because money isn't going to be a problem at that point. So Numbuh, I guess, would be a viable switch to get bonus after a run becomes obsolete, but I probably would just stick with it just in case. Since you're probably not going to be using him by that point anyway, it's really not even that good of an investment anyway, because you're just wasting 5k Taros that could easily be spent on potions. since they're only 100 for like 10 potions, or like 100 for 100, I think. Yeah, I think so. So you're better off just keeping with run, for at least for now, because it's just a lot better. And Eddy also has a run power, but then again, it's not as good as having a heal, because both Eduardo and Eddy both have heals, but Eduardo's isn't as good. It heals you a lot less, and you don't really need other people for most of the game. I doubt very many people are going to be having a partner for the majority of the game anyway, so it doesn't really affect so it's not really as beneficial. Drain is a lot better, and Radar just sucks, which is why personally I would actually recommend Drain, even though I know I've said before that Drain isn't that good, and that Radar would probably be better, even though that like all of his powers are honestly pretty bad, except health and Drain. I mean, Drain's not the worst power in the game by far, but there's definitely better. But in health, self area just isn't as good as the other two, group and self, just because it doesn't heal as much. Because I'm pretty sure group it's less than group but more than self area. No, it's less than self but more than self area, which is why it's a lot better. But you're also not going to be using it anyways because you have Scavenge already, so it's a lot more useful, a lot less useful. And then Eddy just has a way better heal. So yeah, this is gonna be my main. This is gonna be like my main 3 recommended powers: Scavenge, Run, and Cosmics, or heal with Eddy. And since it's gonna get you throughout the entire game if you just use this, you don't really have to go for anything else. You're good here. But variations will definitely be made once you actually get Numbuh 5 and Wilt, and maybe other nanos like Utonium, and maybe Billy or Magus, or essentially just any nano you get in the past will make sure that your team gets swapped up according to what you want. So, see, Drain, it's percentage damage over time, and it's only really good against bosses like Dawn Doom, because you're able to just blast away tons of their HP at once. But at the same time, it's not very good against normal enemies. The damage area is still going to be a lot better, so you're not going to want that. You're not going to use it unless you're planning on going after tons of boss enemies. So, right now, as we currently stand, I would just recommend these main 3. But once the pass actually comes out, I will definitely be recording more videos for optimum power setups for each, maybe 10 levels, maybe less, just because there's more nanos to actually be able to equip at that point. See, our next nano is Blossom, is another Cosmic, so, but you're definitely not going to be replacing her with Eddy, just because Eddy's significantly better. She only has a stun, which Buttercup has, but you're going to be swapping out for Scavenge anyway. And you have Antidote, which is which is probably her best power. Freedom is fine, but there's just better, because not that a lot of enemies, at least later on, stun. There's going to be a lot of stunning enemies, but it's not going to be as useful because you're probably able to take it off before you get stunned. It means, yeah, stun is fine. She has a pretty decent selection of powers, but they're just not good enough to outclass Eddy. And so after Blossom, you have Wilt, who has Jump. Maybe if you want to swap him out for swap out Buttercup for Wilt, and maybe use that. But because at least in the early game, Fusion Matter isn't as much of a problem, so you don't really have to use Scavenge. But I would just recommend it just so you get that extra Fusion Matter, because maybe it'll actually reduce the amount of grinding you have to do later, because you'll be able to quickly get through levels, and maybe you'll save a couple of missions. But then again, it doesn't affect your game a whole lot, so having Scavenge early game isn't nearly as much of a priority. So you could theoretically swap out Wilt or Buttercup for Wilt or Numbuh 5 as you get them, because Wilt's jump power is definitely going to be very helpful. And it's also Eddy, who's also Blastons, and she has 2 damage abilities as well as a Revive. Revive, it's not the best, but it's definitely not horrible. at least later on, especially if they're in the final boss fight. So, but right now this is definitely going to be optimum. Like these main three, and then as the game goes on, you'll get more nanos. I'll definitely be recording videos on their optimum powers too, as I get them. So I'll decide like which intervals of levels that I'm going to be doing, just so I can record them more efficiently. At least be able to get good information, because right now there's not a lot of nanos. There's not much to really discuss. And the video is getting kind of long right now anyway. So this is my this is my main 3 setup. It will definitely change as the time goes on. I would just recommend getting Scavenge as early as possible, just so you have it. Because I mean, it's 5k Taros. It's not the hardest thing in the world to obtain. You could probably just ask anybody for a loan of 5k, and then you're good. Because like, if you just need a quick 5k Taros, just you can fight any monster in Genius Grove, and you'll have that pretty quickly. Like one run around with full inventory full of crates will probably net you enough to just buy it outright. And the air drones around here, there's quite a lot of them, as you can see. So just this entire area is just full with air drones, and they all give 31 Taros each. And I guess if you had bonus, it'd make it just a little bit better. But since it doesn't affect trades between shopkeepers, I wouldn't recommend it. You just use run to quickly get from place to place, and then just have your scavenge out so you can maximize your fusion matter intake if you're not already at maximum fusion matter. So as you see, I'm already at max, 5,940. And so, yeah, that's pretty much my optimum guide for Nano Powers, at least right now for the first 4 levels. I might just do it every 4 levels, just because that's the amount. That's what we're doing right now, and since there's, you know, 4 nanos every 4 levels, makes sense. So that's it. If you liked the video, please remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in my next video. See ya.